When I used to bullshit people, that bullshit always came back to haunt me. And after a while, you lose yourself in that bullshit. Doing it, I didn't know who the fuck I was. And when I looked at myself realistically, I didn't like what I saw. Yeah, but that shit, it changed me. It made me start looking at people as people. And in doing that, you start to learn the truth. It's some beautiful shit that, most people miss. Trying to be controlling or trying to change somebody. Let the person be themselves and watch them, and you grow watching them grow. Because we don't put limitations on each other. That's the real beautiful part of it.
Welcome to Unbroken Chain. I'm Mara James, hosting y'all here, and that is Darryl Carter. He's truly one of my favorite people. I really love this guy, and this hang is a really special one. I got to know Darryl this winter. We were both working evenings in an office in Midtown Manhattan. I would come in around 6 p.m. to dump footage onto hard drives that had been shot on a TV show during the day, and Darryl would come in around the same time a couple days of a week to clean the office. And we clocked each other right away. Darryl's really quiet, but I noticed that he was a really keen observer and just had the sense that he had the lay of the land in the office, and he understood the relationships that were at play between people, and also understood just the moods and emotions that people were going through in their day. I just was like, this is a really special person. And I was like, there's definitely a story behind how he came to be here and how he came to know people like this. And sure enough, it wasn't long before the office would clear out. Everyone would go home, and it would usually be just the two of us there. And oh my God, Darryl is hilarious. He's such a great storyteller, and he's lived so many lives. He's seen so many sides of this city, from living here in what from his story sounds like sort of an idyllic time in the 60s and 70s, through the devastation of crack in the 80s, through gentrification and sort of the time that we're living in now, which, as someone that arrived in the city in the aughts, is really the only version of New York that I know. And it was such a pleasure to get to know Darryl. And one of the first things that Darryl said to me that first day that we started talking was, I don't do grief and aggravation anymore. I've had enough of it. And he really lives that. His presence is so wonderful. And he's really transparent about the challenges that he's been through. That his perspective is hard won. And that's why I think it's so clear and just kind of emanates from him in this undeniable way. And this podcast is really cool too. I know I moved out of my apartment a few weeks ago in New York, and I have so much affection for this city. It's such a fucked up, crazy capitalist hive of nonsense, but it's also a really magical wonderland where you can find almost any kind of person and opportunity. And I do think that's changing, which is part of why I'm leaving to go find a place where it's just frankly more possible to take risks and not engage with the grind 24/7. But I got an amazing education here in life, and Darryl has too. So this conversation is definitely the story of his transformation, but it's also the story of the transformation of this city, and by extension, I think this country and our culture. And he has incredible insights into why that's unfolded, what forces are at play, how addiction is part of a bigger system, how abuse is part of a bigger system. And that's something that I think all of us can relate to as we try to understand the current moment that we're in and how we possibly came to be here. So we recorded this at his apartment in the Bronx after my gig ended. I was really bummed that I wasn't going to be able to have these hangs with him on the regular anymore, and he had me up to his place. And so, yeah, picture yourself in his living room. I'm so grateful that Darryl is in my life, and I'm so grateful he's in yours now too. He deserves a much bigger platform than I think he would ever claim for himself. Come hang with us.
I mean, they wouldn't just search you. You know, they would make you drop your pants and all that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, at that time, the drug dealers, they would hide the drugs and they would, what they call, cheek it.
That gives me the picture. Yep.
Right? You know, they would take it and put it in the cheeks, you know, and that's where they would stash it. So what the police would do is they would run up on you and they'd make you pull your pants down. And what wound up happening is they filed a class action suit about that. And they wind up paying people, whoever got stopped or arrested for that, they started paying them money because of that happening. And what happened is that what they do is they started, when you start arresting people and moving people out of areas, the property values go up. And when the property values go up, the people that's living in that neighborhood can no longer afford it. And they just move them out. And that's the same thing they're scared of in Long Island City, the gentrification, because that's what's going to wind up happening. The people that's been there, they're going to wind up being outpriced. The same thing is happening right here in this area. I mean, years ago, this area was really not a great area to be in. And now they're developing, and more that they build buildings, these new buildings, and do these developments, they start pricing people out. You know, the question that I have is, where do they expect these people to go that they price out? And then they wonder why you got all these people sleeping on the trains, sleeping in the subways, all these people sleeping on the sidewalk. They have no place to go. Where are they supposed to go? So what are they going to do? Build internment camps for them? I mean, you know, that's why I was wondering when Trump was talking about this border wall, is the wall to keep people in or to keep people out? You know, that's an interesting, you know, point of view. You know, make sure that people can't escape too. I mean, because I don't know what they expect people to do. $15 an hour is not enough money to pay if you got to pay $2,500 a month rent. It's not enough. Even if you're getting 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, it's not enough money.
It's almost like the people in charge don't actually care about people.
They don't. They actually don't. And it's like the corporations buy them, they own them, and they make them do whatever they want them to do. And their mindset is, I got mine. My family is safe. I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize, you know, my position, because I don't want to be out there, you know. But they don't care about the fact that thousands are suffering because of his one family is surviving. And on the flip side, you got thousands of people that are not. And it's because of his decisions. It's not fair. The corporations done took over. You don't have no more mom and pop stores, none of that. It's sad. It's really sad.
What was the city like when you first got here?
Well, that old saying about the streets was lined with gold, it pretty much was like that. Back in the 60s and the 70s, it was beautiful. I mean, you know, people cared about each other. I mean, you had crime. I mean, crime always existed. That's something that, I guess, been in existence since the beginning of time. You know, Cain killed his brother, and that was, you know, way back. So that's a crime. Crime has always been existent, but people basically cared about each other, and neighborhoods were different. Most neighborhoods were segregated. You had black neighborhoods, Hispanic neighborhoods, Jewish neighborhoods. Now you look at the neighborhoods, they're more diverse. You have a little bit of everybody in the neighborhood. I'm hoping that in the long run, all of the people, being that they are diversified, that they do wind up coming together. Because if they don't realize that they need each other to survive, something's going to be wrong. And my neighborhood where I grew up, anybody that was an adult that knew my parents, and mostly everybody in that block knew my parents, if they saw me doing something wrong, they would chastise me as if they were my parents, and then take me to my parents. And you would rather them chastise you and let it be done with than for them to take you to your moms or your pops, because now you're really going to get it because you embarrassed the family. You mean to tell me she had to discipline you because you didn't have the good sense to do what you were supposed to do? You really got it then. Parents, they was allowed to beat their kids then. I wouldn't dare defy my mother or my father, especially my mother. If my mother said to do something, I did it. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. And I wasn't always a good kid. I did a lot of bad things I wasn't supposed to do, but I did it sneakily. I didn't let nobody see me do it, because I knew that I couldn't let any of the older people in the neighborhood see me. I had respect for them. People don't have respect for one another. And that's really a sad thing. When you don't respect people, you don't respect yourself, because it starts with you first. I mean, these kids nowadays, they curse their mothers like they their friends. Man, what? I could never. Even when I was a grown man, I would never say nothing like that to my mother. Never. Never. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And my mother sometimes could be wrong and in 3 left feet. But I would never call her out of her name or anything like that, out of respect. And I don't see that. And that's because you got kids raising kids. It's I don't know. I don't know if this was part of a master plan or whatever, but it's really a sad situation because there's nobody to really teach them, and they're not going to listen. They've got a mindset that they're not listening to no one older than them anyway. Anybody that's older than them is an enemy as far as they're concerned, or stupid, and they don't realize that the older generation is what made it possible for them to have the things that they have now. It's the sacrifices they made, the technology and all that they got now is because of the sacrifices other generations have made for them. They don't show no appreciation for that. And they have the world at the palm of their hands, and they're not doing nothing with it. They have the power to change politics, the scope of politics, the way we see it. They can change that dramatically. It's a lot of young people now, and they have power that they really don't utilize. They'd rather look at YouTube and a video than to read a book. I've never seen so much illiteracy in my life. I mean, you got people that are managers in the stores, and if they don't use a calculator or the cash register, they don't even know how much change to give you. That's fucked up. They can't even think. That's really sad. They can't even think. If you can't figure out how much is 5 plus 5 or 3 plus 3, there's something really wrong with this educational system. You got to say, anytime you can get a guy like the guy they got in the president's seat now, come on, man. I mean, what the fuck was they thinking about? Fucking Virginia, you got the governor in blackface. The lieutenant governor got 2 women saying that he sexually assaulted them. And they all talking about, well, I'm not stepping down. It's like, yeah, to me, it's like them they're saying, yeah, I did it, so fucking what? Fuck you and anybody else who put me here. I'm not giving up this seat of power. Then you say, it was me. Then you're going to come back 2 days later and say, it wasn't me. What was it? You was high? What you gonna say? I was high. I ain't know what I was saying. Get the fuck out of here. Everybody in the world ain't high and everybody in the world ain't stupid. But that's what really pisses me off, is because it's like you're telling me to my face I'm a dumbass. I'm stupid, or you just don't give a fuck about me. So why should I give a fuck about you? What I do care about is you being in a position to make a decision regarding my life, and I'm powerless to stop you. You could put me in a real bad position, and there's nothing I can do to stop you, and you can do it on a whim. Because, to do the shit that he did, that was a whim. And why is a woman going to say you took the pussy from her if you didn't take it? Come on. One person say it, all right. But when 2 people say it, I look at body language and stuff, and I'm looking in his face, when he's saying this shit. He did it. Come on, man. You did it. You know what I'm saying? You felt because of the position you was in, you could flex your muscle on her. Listen, man, you use your power to manipulate her, which is really messed up. That's like taking advantage of the weak. You know, that's like seeing somebody down and you kicking them. That's grimy. I don't care how desirable a woman. There's a lot of women in my life that I would have loved. I mean, I may have wanted to cut my right arm off just to get 5 minutes. You understand what I'm saying? But I never would go and say, you know, forcibly, or that's the way life is. We can't have everything you want. You know, and the person that does that, then what's the limit to what you won't do? That says something about who the person is, you know. I mean, come on, man. It ain't that deep. It really ain't that deep. What else have you abused, or who else have you abused? Is this a pattern? This is something that you do on a regular basis? This is how you get your jollies? But some people are like that. Some people get off on using their power, you know, to abuse people, you know. I just happen not to be one of those persons. I'm the one that always like to champion for the underdog, you know.
Are you an underdog?
Do I feel like I'm an underdog? Yeah. At times I am. Mm-hmm. At times I know that the cards are stacked against me, but it gives me incentive to try to change the way the cards are dealt, you know. And sometimes you just got to play the cards that's dealt to you to the best of your ability. And if I'm able to do that, then I'm satisfied at whatever the outcome. If I play the cards and they don't come out with me winning, I can accept that. You know, I can accept the loss. I can accept no. There was a time when I couldn't. It was hard for me for somebody to tell me no. I'm going to talk, I'm going to beg, I'm going to try to do whatever I can, you know, to convince a person to see it my way. But you can't always have it your way. And I understand that. That's a part of growing up, you know, and being a mature individual. Now here you are in a position to make decisions, govern. You're the lieutenant governor. I don't know how many people was in the state of Virginia, but you're the one that signs these bills that, you know, that affects all of these people's lives. And you can't even be trusted around a piece of pussy. What the fuck wrong with you? Come on, man. And then you got the other one that you say one thing, then you recant and say something else, so your word ain't shit. Mm-hmm. I was told a long time ago, all a man has in his life is his word. And if his word ain't shit, he ain't shit. It's really that simple. Now, if I say I did it, I did it. You know, it would have been simpler. He would have gained more sympathy and more support if he would have said, you know what? I was young at the time. It seemed like a good idea at the time. I wasn't trying to denigrate anyone or anything. I was just so much of a fan that I wanted to be like this person in any way that I could be. Everybody can understand that. I mean, I remember as a kid, you know, when I was younger, they used to have this TV show, Superman. And I remember taking a towel and tying it around my neck and running around the house like I was flying, you know, jumping off my mom's dresses and shit. I mean, come on. We all go through our fan phase where we, you know, we adore somebody or something to that point where we want to emulate them. There's nothing wrong with that. But own up to it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, man, I was really a Michael Jackson fan. I mean, I was so into Mike, man. I wanted to look like him. I wanted to dance like him. I wanted to be like him. I wished I could be Mike because he was so talented. Everybody would have respected that. In hindsight, putting on the blackface may have been a bad decision. I can admit that. Now, you know, when I look at it now, it was a bad decision. But it was no malice intended when I did it. And that would have been it. But to say I did it, and then 3 days later, no, I didn't do it. Come on, man.
They don't have any integrity.
And that's the thing that's supposed to be more important than anything when you're a politician. Because people are voting for you based on your word. On your word saying that you would support them and you would do everything you could to help them out. So if your word is, if you have no integrity, come on. Why would I want you in that position? That means you can be bought and sold like a $2 hoe. Come on, stop it, man. Stop telling people shit like that and expecting these people to eat it and accept it.
Well, we have to demand something better too, instead of
True
continuing
that.
to elect these people. Yeah.
True that. I've for the last 3 years I've been voting. I'm just one vote, but shit, my one vote might make a difference. Because some of this shit I just can't take it no more. When the president gets on the television, I don't even want to hear shit he has to say because it's so bullshit. It's just like when he was debating Hillary Clinton, and she said something about him paying taxes, and she said, "Well, why didn't you pay taxes?" He said, "Oh, because I'm smart." So she says, "Well, that means the rest of us are stupid." Well, I guess, and they still voted for him. He just told y'all to his face. Well, maybe that's why they voted for him, because he kept it a buck. Maybe
Right.
because he said, "Man, I really don't give a fuck about y'all, but I'm better than these lying
Liars.
motherfuckers." So I guess they said, "Fuck it, he's the lesser of two evils."
I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
think that's why they put him in there. But then when they put him in there and they realize how grimy he really is now, it's like, because he's shitting on all of them. He's shitting on them like it's no tomorrow. Like, shit, y'all knew I was grimy. You knew I was a snake when I got in here, so why you getting mad because I bit you?
Okay, so Darryl, this is something I love about you, because I feel like when I first noticed you, I was like, you're very quiet, but I was like, I can tell that you can just see everything that's happening around you. I feel like you're just able to see the truth in people and in what's happening.
It's the learned experience. It comes from paying attention. And it's like we talk about people escaping. I was one of those escapists also. I remember when I was younger, man, I was really into escapism. I was very insecure as a young teenager. Very insecure because I've always been small. I didn't think I was too attractive to the women. I was very shy around them until I had my first experience. And after my first experience, I gained a little bit of confidence because it was an older person, and the things that she taught me made me a little bit more confident. And the mere fact that she chose me
Right.
boosted my confidence. But I was naive, very naive as a young teenager, very naive. I didn't think people were actually the way that they are. Because like I said, I grew up in one of those neighborhoods where everybody was Miss So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so. My building that I lived in, I knew it was 24 apartments in the building. I knew everybody in the building, and everybody in that building knew me. I can go in anybody's house in that building and eat, sleep, or whatever if the situation called for that. If my parents, like if my mother and father went out, she'd get one of the ladies or somebody in the building babysit us. We had to go stay in their house. And most of the time, me and my brother and sister would be mad as hell because I don't want to stay in that lady house, shit like that, and the person went out their way to be nice to us, but it was just something foreign, and it was like everybody knew your business. You go to the corner grocery store, the guy in the corner grocery store, I can go in there and I can say, my mother want this. He put it in the bag, write it down, give me the bag, I take it home. My mother, I guess she paid him when she got paid or whatever. But like I said, everybody looked out for each other. And because everybody looked out for each other, it made me care about people. So when I saw somebody being taken advantage of, I would try to champion their cause because I couldn't stand to see somebody being taken advantage of. And, because I was smaller, a lot of time guys would try to take advantage of me because I was smaller. So that made me have to fight harder. It made me become a little bit more stronger because I had to fight them, let them know that you just couldn't walk on me. There was some guys I was afraid of that was bigger than me, but, even though I would get my ass whooped, I would still fight them, just to let them know you're not going to walk over me. And as the veils started, lifting from my eyes, and I started seeing how people really were. I started watching people. And then one of the things that started that when I was younger was like, whenever I was around adults, like my parents and them, her words was, children should be seen and not heard. In other words, don't say a damn word because you don't have nothing to do with this conversation. So I can sit there and listen. I'm listening to what they're saying, but I can't comment. And I really can't really listen because if they think that I'm listening, I'm getting an ass whooping. What the fuck you listening to grown folk conversation for? This ain't your place. So when we would have dinner, the adults had their table, the kids had their table. So we didn't, like really interact. But we always, as kids, we wanted to always sit at the adult table. So we couldn't wait for our time to become adults. So we watched them so that we can emulate them. And we picked which ones we wanted to emulate. There was some that I wouldn't want to emulate for nothing in the world because after observing their behavior, you're like, this motherfucker here, this one is, So you took your time picking who you wanted to emulate, and no one could really fill the full void. So you took a piece from this one, you took a piece from this one, you took a piece from that one, took a piece from this one, and you incorporated into you. So I learned to watch people, see how they do things, and I learned how to listen, which is the most important thing. Because if you listen, people will tell on themselves. They always do. You don't have to beat a person up or none of that. Just listen. They'll tell on themselves. They normally do. They can't help it. Their conscience doesn't allow them not to. And if a person when I was in treatment, a guy said, anything after but is bullshit. Well, I really want to be there, but so he said, anything after but is bullshit. So I kept that one in mind, And then I learned body language. I learned that you look people in their eyes, and most people when they lying, they start this shit or look around, everybody's got to tell. And if you're around a person long enough, you can pick up the tell. That's what y'all do. Women do that shit when it comes to their man. Y'all do that shit with your men. You know when the motherfucker's lying. You know your man. And if you don't, something is wrong. It's the same thing with your woman. You know what your woman need. If you ain't giving your woman what she's supposed to have when she needs it, and she do some dumb shit, it's on you. So you got to know people. You watch them. They tell you. Everybody wants to be understood. Don't you want to be understood as a human being and accepted? That's all of our dilemma.
Loved.
Oh, especially that. More than anything. More than anything in the world. That's the main thing we all as human beings want, is to be loved. More than anything. We'll take love over acceptance any day of the week. Because there's a lot of people that I love, but I don't like them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, I love them, but I just don't like them. I don't like the shit they do, but I love them as a person. My kid's mother,
Yeah.
I love her. I'll love her to the day I die, but I don't like her. She do some fucked up shit, but that's who she is. That's who she is. I accept that. I accept her as who she is. That doesn't mean that I have to agree with everything she does. And I don't. And because I don't abide everything she does, our interactions now at this stage in our life are short, sweet, and to the point, Hey, how you doing? How's the grands? How you been? Been a long time. All right, be good. And that's what you do with some people. But seeking the truth, that's the most important thing in the world, because that's what I want. Everybody wants the truth. And there was a time when I couldn't take it, when somebody told me the truth. And then I had an experience where, oh, man, wow. Wow. I ain't never tell nobody this one. All right. When I went through drug treatment, right, at that point I had been through a lot. My kid's mother, we had been together 17 years. And when I got into treatment, she sent me a Dear John letter. Well, it was a Dear Darryl letter, but the last line of the letter was, And whenever you show up, don't you ever darken my doorstep again. Now, at that point in my life, I was madly in love with her. She was like my first, well, after the older woman, but she was like my age, my first true love. That's why we had babies. And you couldn't tell me that we wasn't meant, because our birthdays are 2 days apart and our kids' birthdays are 2 days apart. Same month, 2 days apart. So there's no coincidence. God don't make mistakes. Anyway, when she told me that, I was distraught, heartbroken. I was boo-hooing like it was no tomorrow. I done lost my baby. I went through, was going through it. So this girl named Cheryl Edmonds, she was like day one peer. We all came in at the same time. And she was pressing up on me. But I was not attracted to her at all. I didn't come there for that. My head wasn't in that space, And I wasn't trying to be mean, or I don't know what my actions or how she felt because of my actions. But I didn't want her to feel that she wasn't, beautiful enough, or, nothing like that. I just wasn't interested in her. So she kept saying, how she wanted to get with me. And I'm like, oh, why don't you leave me alone? Go ahead, leave me alone. I don't see you that way. I'm not interested in you. So one day I told her that, and she took her hand and she mushed me and told me, she said, if I'd have seen you in the street, I would have took your shit. Now, at that time, I still had a little of that gangster bullshit in me. And I was like, took my shit? Ain't nobody ever took my shit. So I said some real foul shit to her. I said, yeah, well, at least I never had to get on my knees to make a buck. That was really low, And she started crying. And when she started crying, I knew I had crossed the line. Because even my friend Greg said, damn, D, that wasn't right, man. And you know how you say some shit and you know what you're saying is fucked up and you shouldn't be saying it, but it's too late because I'm acting on an emotion and that shit just came out. When I said it, I knew I had went too far, because, most women, when they came into treatment, especially for that crack shit, that's what most women had to do, and the women are the most abused out of them all. The shit that men put women through is fucked up. Women have gone through shit when it comes to addiction, and it was really fucked up for me to say that. I mean,
because sex for drugs is kind of standard.
Synonymous. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? But even though sex and drugs are synonymous, there's levels to that shit. You understand what I'm saying? And motherfuckers took that level to west. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So I probably can't even begin to fathom the type of abuse that she underwent. My saying that probably brought that shit to the forefront, So what they did, right? They, like, when you fuck up, they would put you on a chair. They had this little wooden stump that they had right by the door, and they would make you sit on that shit. That's like saying, you on your way out. You know what I'm saying? We can really throw your ass out of here. And that stump, that motherfucker's hard. Like, if you just come and sit down for 5 or 10 minutes, it's all right. But you spend 3-4 hours on that stump, that hard wooden stump, your ass hurting like a motherfucker. And you can't get up unless you raise your hand. Like, you got to go to the bathroom, you got to raise your hand, and they got to escort you to the bathroom.
Wow.
When the meals was time to, get a meal, you think you're going to go in the dining area where you can, get your own juice and your dessert, because they fed you. They fed you very good there. I mean, we ate like kings there, so... Nah, they bring you a bullshit ass.
It's like the seat of shame.
Yeah, basically that's what it is. They bring you a little bullshit tray and you gotta sit there your legs, together trying to hold the tray. It was fucked up. So this counselor, his name was Velvet Turner. In fact, he played with Jimi Hendrix.
No shit.
Yeah. He had pictures of him and Jimi Hendrix together. He had this album that him and Jimi Hendrix had played. He was gay, but, that was his thing. I still respected Velvet. Now, you talk about a person who was sharp. Man, me and this guy used to go at it. We used to have intellectual warfare. And he was the only person in there who could keep up with me. And he was good. He was good. He used to tear my ass out the frame. But I loved him because he made me sharper. Because he was so sharp. He was good. So he says, he comes to me. He said, all right, well, what you going to do, Dal? I said, what do you mean? What am I doing? As far as what? He said, you got to answer for what you did. I said, man, I apologize to her. What more you want? He said, it's not that simple. I said, why not? I said something wrong. I said, I'm sorry. And that's that. He said, no, because it goes deeper than that. So I said, how do you mean it goes deeper? He says, obviously, you must have issues when it's concerning women. And maybe that's one of the reasons why you use. So maybe we need to start to address those issues. Wow. So I'm like, well, yeah, we can do that at a later date or whatever, trying to put this shit off because basically I'm trying to, appease him, say whatever the fuck he want me to say so I can get the fuck up off this chair and finish doing me. So he says, what you said was wrong and the women want to talk to you about this. So that's all right, So he says, come on. So we goes and he takes me to this room. And it's this big ass circle. When I walk in the room, you had to carry the chair in front of you, So I'm walking in the room. When I walk in the room, it's a big circle. It looked like some of the most man-hatingest women in the face of the earth. Like all of them was in a big circle. And when I came in the room and seen all them women, I tried to back out. Right? Velvet was right behind me. He said, either you go in or pack your shit. So I went in there and they sat me in the middle of that group. And they wore my little ass out. They said shit to me that the only thing that stopped me from busting out and crying right then was my pride. But they said, you little this, that. They hit on every insecurity that I've ever had. Whatever shit they had for men, I got all of that shit. All of it. This shit lasted for about an hour and a half. They went from the dick size to everything. You're incompetent, you this. Oh man, they just wore me out. But this is observations, that this is how they're seeing me. I'm thinking I'm the man, but you never know how what you really projecting until others, tell you what they see. All I know is when that shit was over, I grabbed my little chair and I went to my room. And as soon as I got in the door, and I cried and cried and cried. They shrunk me down to that. To like, it was like I felt like an amoeba when I came out of there. That's how they shrunk me down. My image of myself was completely destroyed. And I said, boy, I would never, women ain't never got to worry about me saying no fly shit like that out my mouth again. That shit there almost made me pack my shit and leave. Because I was afraid, after that, I was afraid to face them. And when the groups is over, we got to have a final house meeting. So I had to come back down on the floor. When I came back down on the floor, and this one girl named Dawn, she is gay, right? She came and she gave me a hug. She said, "You gonna be all right, man." I said, "Thanks." And I'm getting ready to break right then and there. Went in the bathroom, got it together and came back out. And When I went back up to the room that night, man, I cried in my sleep. I cried myself to sleep, man. And after that, my whole perception of women and how I treated them changed. But I'll never forget that as long as I live, boy. Y'all are dangerous. The things that y'all can say out of your mouth to a person, but I'm glad that that happened because it let me see how people really perceive me and what the image I was projecting on to others, and helped me to change who I was and change the way I treated people. Because at one point I thought I was like God's gift to earth. Nothing and no one was better than me, and that people were supposed to bow down and, do whatever I say at my command. Yeah, but that shit, it changed me. So now what I do is it made me start looking, at people as people. And in doing that, you start to learn the truth. And you can't escape the truth, no matter what it is. You can't escape it. As a human being, there's plenty of times I've tried to create my own truth. And depending on the situation I'm in, I might have done that to protect my mind from going crazy. It was a defense mechanism because we all use those. We all use defense mechanisms, and I've used them on plenty of occasions to protect my sanity. I had to use them on a daily basis when I was in prison. You have to create false realities in your mind to keep you sane.
So, like, what kind of story would you tell?
I wouldn't tell any story.
In your head, I mean.
In my head, yeah. I'm in Acapulco somewhere, or it's a major conspiracy against me, and I'm here, as a political prisoner, and things are going to be different when I get out, and I know I got to keep a low profile, depending on what the situation was, whatever the situation was. And I didn't really get high in prison. A couple of times I did have some alcohol. This guy used to bring us booze. I tried Valium once in there, but I really didn't feel comfortable being high in there. I wanted to be sharp. I didn't want to be high in there. I didn't want to fall asleep. And I saw too much hatred and too much bloodshed to make me want to fall asleep. Just too much. So I try to keep it 100. I found out the more truthful that I am to myself and to others, the easier my relationships with people are. When I used to bullshit people, that bullshit always came back to haunt me.
You have to keep track of all the stories.
Exactly. And after a while, you lose yourself in that bullshit. You start to lose your identity. I know I did when I was doing it. I didn't know who the fuck I was. And when I looked at myself realistically, I didn't like what I saw. And that's what made me start using drugs. Really using drugs because I didn't like what I saw.
What was your drug of choice?
It was coke. Yeah, my thing was coke. I thought it made me more outgoing, but it didn't. It really didn't. It really didn't. It heightened some senses, Some senses are heightened. My sense of awareness was heightened. When I was under the influence of coke, motherfucker really couldn't game me. I mean, seriously, I was out there selling drugs, and guy coming up to me, I could tell you whether he was copping short, whether he was asking for credit, how much money he was willing to spend. I could tell from the way the guy walked, the way he carried himself, exactly what was going to happen when he got in front of me. You learn that so that you're prepared. You got something for each, because each customer's got a story. Each one of them got a story. Dude to come, man, listen, I know it's $20, man, but I only got 18, only got 15, man. You got 18, you pass the test. If you got 18, you can get 20. Next, you know what I'm saying? When a guy come, listen, man, I'm kind of fucked up, man. I don't get paid till tomorrow. Yeah, I'm waiting on the package right now, man. Come see me a little later. You got to shoot the bullshit right back to them, because it's all game. But it's not a fucking game. It's no game at all, because every time you do that, you risking your freedom. Every time you make that pass, you risking your freedom. You get busted for a sale, you know what I'm saying? You can go to jail. So you risking your freedom every time. Fuck, I'm gonna let you give me short money for. I ain't gonna get that shit in the penitentiary. Ain't like you gonna say, hey D, let me send you that $2 I owe you, or that $5 I owe you. Ain't gonna send me shit. You know what I'm saying? Glad the motherfucker going. I ain't gotta pay that money. So you learn to know the truth and being able to act on it, you know. Sometimes it's beneficial and sometimes it's not, because all that glitters ain't gold.
Did you go through a period where you were really into like buying things and accumulating?
Oh yeah, I went through the material shit like a month. Oh, I was really into that. I was a clothes freak.
Really?
Yeah, I was a real fucking clothes freak. I mean, oh God, I had that shit bad. I'd go to Layton's, AJ Lester's, Ori's, Mr. T. I just like to get tailor-made pants. You know, I come out in the morning with my hustle and shit on, and then at night everybody would dress up and we go to the clubs and shit like that. You know, you'd be flying with your diamonds and all that. Yeah, I was into that. And then the cars. And then I developed a sex habit. My sex habit was worse. I didn't know what kept me the brokest, the drugs or the sex. But it was a point where I had to have it 3-4 times a day. I mean, I really, really was addicted. I mean, addicted. I remember this guy, Pete Fagan, used to call me Filthy McNasty. And they used to call my cousin the uncrowned pervert of Lenox Avenue. He was worse than me. He took that 8 to 80 shit literal. Yeah. But he didn't discriminate, you know. Women, dudes, he didn't give a fuck. Yeah. Lem was, God bless him. Lem was a motherfucker. That was my man, though. And me and him came in the bar together, dudes grabbed their girls. Still didn't help him. You know, it was a new adventure every day, and that was like the game plan. Get up in the morning, smoke me a joint, eat, take my shower, throw on my gear, go do my little hustle, do whatever I gotta do to get my money, go home, change, service my wife, go out, maybe hit one of her friends. I even did her sister. Yeah, I did all 3 of her cousins, her best friend. I was grimy.
What changed things for you?
I just woke up one day and just said, you know, I'm tired. I met this girl when I was working with transit. I met this girl. She got on the train. Me and us had a conversation. She rode my train to the end, came back with me to the terminal. It was my last trip. When I was leaving the terminal, she said, come on, let me go. She came with me home. We had sex, and after we had sex, I looked at her, I'm like, why are you, in my mind, like, what the fuck is she doing here? And, you know, she stayed for a while, and she left. Then right after that, a week later, is when I went to Florida with Shirley. And when we came back from Disney World, that's when Shirley stabbed Deborah in her face at my door. And that was it for me, you know, because I started thinking, this motherfucker could have stabbed me in my fucking back. She could have stabbed me in my fucking back. She could have got an artery. That was it, man. And I said to myself, you know, when it happened, I said, you know, that was me paying for that dumb shit I did before. You know, I got cut. That was for Deborah getting cut in her face, because that was my fault. That was my fault, because I told her, even though I knew me and Shirley was in Disney World, I called Deborah from Disney World, told her to, you know, we came back on a Friday. I told her to come back to my house on a Saturday. And me and Shirley, the whole time we was in the hotel, we fucked every day. But I decided I wanted to hit Deborah. I don't know why she came to my mind while I was there with Shirley anyway. But I told her, I said, listen, I'll probably be home Saturday, come on by. You understand? She came by, and, you know, if I wouldn't have told her to come by, she wouldn't have came by there. You know? Yeah.
Do you believe in karma?
Like a motherfucker. So I said that was from Deborah. I firmly believe that somewhere along the line, we pay for our misdeeds in some shape or fashion. We will pay for our misdeeds. And if it doesn't come to us, it might come to somebody we love. And I just thank God that it came to me instead of coming to my kids. You know, I could take it, you know. But I would have been heartbroken if it would have been, you know, something happened to my kids because of some shit that I did. You know, that's a hell of a thing to have to live with the rest of your life.
It's a really hard way to learn that lesson.
Yeah, that would have probably destroyed me, you know. It would have destroyed me. But, you know, dealing with Maria, man, I learned about love. I learned a lot about love that I didn't know before, and I'm glad for that experience. And I learned don't mess with people's, play with people's emotions. That shit ain't no joke. That shit ain't funny, man. For a person to take the time to trust you, especially in this era of distrust, for somebody to trust you, you know, to open themselves up to you, you don't mistreat them. That, no, that I can't do that. I just can't do that. I'm not that guy. And deep down inside, I never was. Even when I was doing that wrong, I was doing it because I thought it was expected of me. You know, I did it because I thought because of the lifestyle that I was in, the life that I was living, that it was expected of me. And if I didn't do it, they would have thought something was wrong with me. You know?
Because that's what it meant to be a man.
Right. You know, and I was trying to gain somebody else's approval. Society that I was in, I was trying to gain their approval. And at the end of the day, I realized that their approval didn't really matter. Because in the general scheme of things, they didn't really matter, you know? Because what we were living was a destructive lifestyle. We was takers. We were taking and we wasn't giving anything back. And we was helping to destroy more than to build. So that was really about nothing, you know? That's no legacy. That's not a legacy to leave behind and say that, oh, I was a drug dealer. That's no fucking legacy. Look at all the lives that's destroyed because of that shit, you know? So how could I be proud of that? That ain't shit to be proud of. I'm more proud of when I was a drug counselor than anything. At least I made an attempt to save a life, you know, opposed to destroying them.
I bet you were really good at that.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, because like you say that people open up to me, I never had a problem with getting people to open up. The hardest thing was dealing with the women, though, because a lot of times with women, they look at a counselor as a father figure, or, you know, and it goes, sometimes they take it to another level. And I never let it go that far. I never let it, you know, I kept it professional, you know, I kept it professional. And that's why I say women suffer more shit than men do, you know. They do, man. Because some of the things that I heard in groups, I was in a group once, man, and this woman talked about some of the things that she had went through, and I cried like a baby, man. I cried more than she did. I'm serious, man. Just to think that another human being could do that to another human being, just, oh my God, just like totally destroyed me. I couldn't believe that people could be that evil and wicked, but they are. You know, some people are. It's scary. It's really scary.
Is that because of what they've gone through, or you think some people are
I don't know. I think some people are just inherently that way. I really do. I really believe that some people are inherently fucking evil. It's a grimy, low-life individuals that don't care about anything but themselves, or anyone but themselves. That's all they care about. There's a lot of people like that. I'm glad I'm not one of them. I'm glad I wasn't raised to be one of them. I'm glad I was raised to care about other people and to show them respect and love. It's nothing more important than that. You know, I found out from doing the counseling thing that a lot of people don't love themselves. They don't know how to love. And it's a hell of a thing when you don't even love yourself, you know? You don't think that you're worthy. You think that you don't deserve certain shit in life. And you'd be surprised how many people walk around feeling that way about themselves. You know, and it's sad. It's sad because if you don't believe that you're worthy of it, how you gonna convince somebody else, you know, that you're worthy of it? You know, it's something that shows. You know, you can see it. You know, you see people glow. You know, and you can see that hatred sometimes in people's eyes. You know, like I ride the trains every day, and I be looking in people's eyes, and I be like, damn, man, black-hearted motherfucker here. It's frightening. You know, you don't find that frightening?
I do. I absolutely do. And I mean, I've been on my own path, I feel like, to learn self-love for myself. And I mean, I want to learn how to create an environment and a culture where we can offer that to each other, you know? And I don't, that's what I'm trying to learn right now from talking to people.
It's I don't know. Like I was watching the news and I see that people now becoming like they was talking about this mixed martial art, how people are more people are getting into that, and it's basically the human need to be with another human being. I think that the days of social media and that internet, you know, relationship kind of shit is over. People want to be with people, you know. That's a false way of communicating, you know. It's all right to, you know, text, but people want to be touched. They want to be held. They want to feel that they're,
Yeah.
you know, that me texting you, what you getting out of that? What you get out of that? But when somebody grabs you and they hold your hand, you can feel that, you know. That's something that's real, you know. You can feel that. You be like, oh man, this feels wonderful. I mean, it's real contact, and I think that's why more people are involved in these sports and stuff now because they want to be around people, and that's what I did when we was younger. I mean, we didn't have none of this shit. So I mean, as a kid, we didn't have video games, so we went outside and we made up our own games. But we played with each other as kids. You know, we interacted with each other. We learned about success and failure, winning and losing, competing and all that kind of stuff. But still being able to do that and still remain friends with each other, because even if we lost the basketball game, we were still friends. You know, and it wasn't this where you want to kill people and alienate them. Yeah, they had bullies back then, but I guess the psychological bullying is worse. I don't know. You know, I mean, I had real bullies that just walked up to you, punch you in your face, and you know what I'm saying. I dealt with those kind of bullies. I didn't deal with the psychological bullies. It was the ones that walk up to you, yo, you got a quarter? Nah, man. All I find, all I keep. No, man. And then they punch you in the face and try to, take you. Yeah, I dealt with those kind of bullies, but
Where do you feel like you learned your self-respect and self-love?
I think I got that in my late 30s and stuff. When I got like in my late 30s, I had what they call an epiphany or a moment of clarity. That's what they call in 12-step programs. They call it a moment of clarity, and it was I just realized that, oh my God, all this time has gone by and I haven't done shit. It's been a fucking cloud, and I played myself, and I realized that I've hurt people, and for what reason, you know? And I got a real good look at myself. One of the first steps was that group. That was one of the first steps. And when I came out of Samaritan Village, and I ran into an old friend named Sabrina Harris, and I started talking to her. She was using at the time, and I was like, "Come on, Brina, you bigger than that. You've always been bigger than that. Look at you." And I used to have a crush on her. I was like, "Man, you was one of the most beautiful women on Lenox Avenue. Come on, baby, please, love yourself." I seen her 2 years later. She was clean, had a great job. Told me that what I had said to her had changed her life forever. And she's still doing good. And when she told me that, that's when I realized that, oh my God, I do have a purpose. I do have a reason to be here. You know, if it's only just to give somebody a word of encouragement. You know, you'd be surprised how important that is to a person. Just to have a conversation with somebody and then the next day, you know, see him and say, how did that work out? And the person says to themselves, oh my God, he was really listening to me. You know, what I said mattered. You know, it's a hell of a thing, man, to be in a conversation with, and I was guilty of this shit, you know, be in conversation with women and they said, did you hear what I said? I'd be like, huh? Like, because I ain't paying attention to none of that shit. You know, I only have one thing in my mind, you know, and to let a person know that you really, really care about what they say and what they do, because I know when somebody really showed concern about me and what I was doing in my life, it made me feel good and made me feel like I meant something. And I want people that's in my circle and my circumference to feel the same thing. You know, if I put you in my circle, it's because I feel you're worthy. You know, you're a worthy person. Because I don't let everybody into my circle. You know, I feel people out and I see, I mean, this motherfucker's at 4 West, I ain't fucking with him, you know. But he might be able to serve a purpose and I'll still deal with him and I'll still treat him accordingly. But I won't let him get into my inner circle. I won't put him into my heart, you know. Because my heart is real fragile and I love. I love extremely hard. And it's been one of my downfalls, but, you know. And then when I really look, I say that, you know, but the reality of it is it's not a downfall. It's a gift to be able to love someone that hard, you know. And if it doesn't, and if they hurt me, it's because, you know, they're human. And that's another way that we self-delude ourselves when it comes to people. Well, I know I used to imagine people being something that they were incapable of being. You know, I had this tendency of putting people on these pedestals and they would never live up to my expectations. It was impossible for them to do that because they're human. You know, we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. So, you know, but like once I learned how to love unconditional and I ain't try to change a person, and that was the main thing because I was a control freak. I wanted to, you know, especially with my women, I control, I'm the king, I say go, you know, and let a person be themselves, and that makes it even more fascinating. It does, because you allow that person to grow, and you grow by being around that person. It's some beautiful shit that, you know, most people miss. Most people miss that, you know, trying to be controlling or trying to change somebody. Let the person be themselves and watch them, and you grow watching them grow. And y'all both grow together. And that's the real beautiful thing of it, because we don't put limitations on each other. That's the real beautiful part of it. You know, when you try to put a limitation on a person, I don't want you doing, well, fucking get a kid or a puppy or something. You know what I'm saying? Get a kid or a puppy. Fuck out of here with that. Because at this stage in your life, could you see somebody telling you what to do? Hell no, right? The fuck out of here, man.
Well, it makes it infinitely new and interesting when you're with someone that can surprise you. You know, it's just there's every day. It's
something, a new experience.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the fun part, because that keeps it stimulating.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you pigeonhole a person, come on, you expect to get the same shit. It starts to get stale and boring, and you be like, "What the fuck is this, man?" You know, no, man. I wanted to be adventurous. I like adventure. You know, I enjoy that shit. Adventure is fun, right? I want the fun part. I want to laugh. I want to be happy. I don't want to be, you know, like, you know, you see like most average movies and stuff. The guy's married to a chick. Before he go home, he got to stop and have a drink. That's fucked up. You got to get high before you go home.
Yeah.
That's really messed up. You know, shit. I want it to be my going home is the high. You know, and I can say that I had that in my life. And it's a beautiful thing where shit. I can't wait till it's time for me to go home because I'm in a hurry to go home because this shit gonna be fun. And every time I went there was some new different shit, boy. And it wasn't because she was crazy. And when you're dealing with a crazy, that's always a fucking adventure. But I don't have the energy for that anymore. That requires a lot of energy. I don't have that energy no more. At least I don't have it to waste on that shit. I have the energy, but I'm not gonna waste it on that shit. No, I don't do grief and aggravation. I'm not doing that shit at all. You're not doing that shit to me. Oh, hell no. Nobody's doing that to Darryl. Nobody's doing that shit to Darryl. Never again.
I think it's its own addiction.
It is an addiction. Some people are addicted to drama. Some people aren't happy. And I saw that in that girl. She's addicted to drama. She's accustomed to it. And if she doesn't have it, it makes her unhappy.
Yeah.
It makes her unhappy. Because she feels that she's not wanted or she's not important because she's not the focal point of this drama. Nah. No, I like that peace. I like that being able to have a conversation. I mean, because I wonder, what do she and her friend talk about? You understand? What is the conversation? Are they growing? Are they building anything? Or if it's like, yeah, because you was with that bitch and... Come on, man. Who wants to deal with that? Yeah, I'd have a drink before I came home, too. And they wonder why they have problems. You got to have stimulating conversation. And then after they lay down, what do they talk about after that? That's why I'm very glad that I did have the experience to be with somebody older to teach me that, teach me those things, the things that's really important. Because all that bullshit that I was doing, that shit wasn't about nothing. It was a cheap-ass fucking way to feed my ego. Because I was shallow and insecure. And that's the total reality of it. And I'm man enough to admit that. I'm man enough to admit that. I needed that to fill the void that I had because I was shallow, empty, and insecure. And I'm not those guys. I'm not that guy anymore. So I don't need that bullshit in my life. So and I'm glad that I was able to get past that because I see some people that I know that I've been around most of my life and they're still on that same plane, and I feel sorry for them. When I'm on the outside, now that I'm on the outside looking in, and I see how it is, I said, damn, I really missed a whole lot of shit, man. Look at all the opportunities that I missed to really have been involved with somebody, to really get to know somebody, to really experience another human being. I forfeited all of that. That's sad as hell. That's really sad. That was a waste of a fucking human experience, man. And that's the kind of things that make me want to cry as I get older, all the missed opportunities, And then I think about what effect I had on them doing what I did to them, Did I jade them, Did I corrupt them emotionally, Did I damage them emotionally where they can't get past that? Are they going to pass that on to their children or to the next person that they deal with? It's fucked up, It's a real bad trip there,
Well, I think that's the path all of us are on, is learning to take responsibility, because there's no way to put that on anyone else. And once we do that, once we awaken to that, that's when we can become the healers and the connectors for each other. So I see you doing that now.
I'm trying to heal, I mean, I've healed somewhat, and there's always issues that need to be worked on, and like they say, the biggest room is a room for improvement, and I'm always trying to improve my product, Me. I'm always trying to improve me the best that I can, and it's not always easy. It's really not always easy, but I give it my best shot. Every day I try to give it my best shot. It's and I caution myself about judging. Also because I have to accept that everyone doesn't have the foresight that I have. And some people are in positions where no matter, even if they do know right from wrong, they still are not going to change because, again, it's the quest for survival, and they do what they have to do to survive. But even in the quest for survival, there still has to be some level of integrity. It still has to be. It still has to be some level of care and love for the next person. Because all right, you get it, and then you can be on the island by yourself. And every time you step on a person, that's a bridge that you burned. And you're not going to be forgiven all the time. Some people aren't capable of forgiveness. I've heard people say, I wouldn't give a shit. They would never forgive, people for some of the things that's been done to them, by that person. And I feel sorry for them because if you don't have the spirit of forgiveness, then, how do you love? How do you love if you can't forgive? It's a heck of a dilemma. And I look at the world and I see it spinning so rapidly. It's just like everyone is in their own world and no one cares about the next person. So I try to show that I care in deeds. Simple stuff, holding the door, thank you, good morning. It's got to start somewhere, you know. Just like I said, just acknowledging a person's existence. Some people you live in places with people and you see the same person every day. You don't even speak to them. It's like they don't even exist. And just to say good morning to somebody, that might just make that person's day. And I look at the karmatic effect of that. If I expel positive energy, then it's got to come back to me. If I project negative, then that's what's going to come to me. I don't try to be pessimistic about anything. I try to be optimistic, even when it may seem it's improbable. I still remain optimistic. I don't believe in using the word impossible. Say improbable. I'll still remain optimistic, even though it's improbable. I don't think nothing's impossible. I don't. I think we can do whatever we want to do, and especially if we work together. And that seems to be the hardest thing because everybody wants to be selfish and individualistic.
And they're afraid of each other, I think.
And that's another thing. When is this fear of each other going to end? When are we going to stop being scared of each other? I mean, all we have to do is follow our instincts. They say the first instinct is God. If I come in your presence and my gut starts, I start feeling, and something is wrong, so I know that I'm not in the right company. I use that as that's my barometer when I'm in the street. When I go around people, my gut, if I get that tingling feeling, or how Spider-Man would say, my spidey senses start tingling, then I'd be like, this motherfucker ain't right, and I'm not going to be around that person. But you can feel when somebody's real and genuine. You feel that. You can't hide that. And when somebody's full of shit. You can't feel that?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I tell a person a minute, FOS. And half the people don't even know what the fuck I be talking about. It should be. And I do that too. And I drop shit on lugs on people when they don't catch it. I go, that really lets me know that they're not aware. And you can't open everybody's eyes at the same time because some people aren't ready to have their eyes opened. You know, some people, I guess God ordains when it's time for people to open their eyes. And sometimes people never do. You know, I know God ordained it for me. I remember a few opportunities when he did. I remember when I was like really, really strung out. I thought I'm looking good. Guy walks in front of me with a giant plate glass mirror. Right on Fordham Road in the Bronx. On a bright sunny summer day. Man, when I looked in that mirror and saw myself, I was like, oh, shit. What the fuck? I said, oh no, I had to step back. I'm like, oh shit. If that didn't open my eyes, boy, man, that was woo. You woo on that one. I was like, damn. And I'm wondering why I'm walking people and they grabbing their kids and shit. I'm walking around looking like a fucking x-ray with clothes on. I said, look at this shit, man. I told him when my pops was still living there. I went to my pops and said, yo, Bob. He said, man, please don't even say anything. I said, man, I've been telling you this shit for months. It's like, oh, shit. And I thank God, boy, that my mother didn't see me. You know, my father, he's a man. You know, men can deal with shit differently. I couldn't imagine what that would have done to my mother, man. She'd have saw me like that. Oh my God, it might have killed her. You know, I can see her now crying. Man, it's like, oh shit, I'm so ashamed. And you know, it's bright 2 o'clock, like in the afternoon on a summer day. Nowhere you can hide. I mean, after seeing that, I wanted to go hide somewhere. Yeah. I mean, it was like, man, you got work to do. I mean, a lot of work, man. I looked at like a soggy shit sandwich, man. But I wish that I had a picture of that. You know, that's, you know, to remind me to say, oh shit, this could be you, fella. Because I was the poster child for crackdom. My goodness.
What kind of consciousness does that put you in?
All I can say is that the only consciousness that puts you in is you want more. In the beginning, it was a sex thing. It was a sex thing. When I first started, a woman, you know, me and her had this arrangement. And at the time, I was just smoking woos. I was just putting it in, crushing the coke up, putting it in my smoke, smoking it like that, you know. My cousin turned me on to that. God bless the dead. And, but I was also selling it, you know, so I couldn't find none, you know, made up. And I ran into this woman. I asked her if she knew how to cook it up. She cooked it up. Long story short, we wind up swinging an episode. But at that time, all I was into was having sex standing up. You know, you understand what I'm saying, right? You know, and she was very proficient. So somewhere down the line, she said, take a hit. And I was like, hell no. You know, I ain't fucking with that, you know. Nah. So this went on about 3-4 times. And one time she was in the process of performing her normal activities. And she stopped. It was like, take a hit or I'm out. And I was at the point of no return. all all consciousness had left this realm. I was incapable of any conscious thought whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Took the hit. It was like super euphoria. Bang. I mean, super euphoria. I mean, that first 30, 40 seconds is like, whoa. I mean, it was like the ultimate,
Orgasm.
Yeah. Yes. I'm like, bang. Yo, I got to do this again. And I never recreated that first, and it was just chasing. So I made that synonymous with the way I was having sex at that time. While you doing that, I'll be doing this, and I wound up strung out. And after a while, you don't even want that anymore. Well, it's the same thing like when they use the rhesus monkeys and they put them in a cage, right? And the monkey would press a lever for food, for water. They put a woman in there. If he wanted sex, he would have sex with her. The minute they introduced the cocaine to the monkey, he didn't touch the food button, he didn't touch the water button, and he never had sex with the woman again. He kept pressing that cocaine button until he died. So, and they was probably giving him pure cocaine, and that's what that shit did. And smoking it intensifies it 10, maybe 10, 20 times. So, yeah, you want to keep doing it. Yeah. There's plenty of times, man, I would hear the bells, and I thought that was the ultimate hit. And, that's when your ears start ringing. Boom. But when that's happening, you're this close to having a stroke. I didn't know that until I started, becoming a counselor, and I started taking pharmacology courses on it. Yeah, you're that close to having a stroke. And then it attacks the same principle in the brain that makes you like ice cream. Like, you like ice cream, the signal that goes to the brain to make you like ice cream or whatever foods or whatever it is that gives you pleasure, you constantly, bombarding that part of your brain. And it gets to a point where that section of your brain becomes numb and nothing becomes appealing to you. You can lose your desire for sex, everything, nothing, because when you go up, you fly up, and then you crash down. And a lot of people, when they crash down, they go into a deep, deep depression to a point where they want to commit suicide. That's what it does to you. It fucks you up. And then it attacks every nerve in the body. It attacks the central nervous system. So your nerves is fucked up, all fucked up. You might not smoke for a month, and then in the middle of the night, I do that shit now sometimes, and it's been like over 30 years. I went, when I first stopped, I went like 3 years without sex. I had no desire for it whatsoever. None.
So your brain has to relearn pleasure.
Exactly. Wow. Because you burn it out. You just constantly burn it. You constantly hitting that button. Ding, 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 ding. You just keep hitting it. Ain't nothing stopping you, But also, because it's a drug of more, it will bring out the darkest, the depths of the most darkest side of your personality. I don't care how much integrity and goody good you are, that shit will make you do some of the grimiest shit in the world. I have a friend, an associate that killed we all grew up together. He killed this brother's moms. You hear me? Robbed their house, man, for a fucking hit, man. And to this day, they didn't catch him, There ain't enough evidence to say that he, but to this day, man, we don't fuck with him because of that, man, The woman in her house dead, you got her color TV. How the fuck you get her TV? You know what I'm saying? But that's the type of shit that shit made you do. It made people kill their parents. It made people sell their children. It made women sell their daughters into prostitution. I mean, and women, the things that they would do anything for it. $2, $3. It was a real bad time, man. And it hit every generation. The old, young, in the middle. Everybody was smoking when that shit when they really flooded the hood with that shit, they made it dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. You could get a $2 hit, $1 crack, so anybody can afford it, Prior to that, when it was just freebasing, you needed $100 to get a hit. In order to really, and $100, that was just a gram, so you did really, you wasn't smoking but so much, once you put the ether and all that shit, and they wouldn't even use ether. What we used to do is we used to take clear ammonia, pour the coke in the clear ammonia, shit go clink, 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 rinse that shit off, and then you smoke it.
What does the ammonia do?
It made it come back into a hard rock. Took out all the impurities, so-called whatever impurities was in it, and it would come back to a hard. It'd be hard. It's like you went in the park and you got a little pebble, a real rock, and put it in the glass jar, and you hear that shit go clink, 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 and you knew it came back. When you did that shit, like we used to pour that shit in there, and once that shit said click, 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 like you and your boys, you be like, yo, this is it, clink, 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 clink. Rinse that shit off, and when you take a metal hanger, put a cotton ball on the end of that shit, and get some 151 Bacardi, dip the cotton ball in that shit, light it, poof, and you add the whole pipe shit, and that shit, you get that cloud, and as soon as you get that cloud, you got that hit, and then it was off to the races. But at that time, you had to have money. So what they did is they made it cheap. And shit, anybody with $2, $3 could get a hit. And then that's around the time Richard Pryor supposed to got burnt up, smoking, freebasing. So everybody wanted to know what the fuck it was that Rich was doing that made him get burnt the fuck up. So people started smoking it. And I know people's grandmothers, people that, growing up, hi, Mrs. So-and-so, propositioning me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because after a while I started swinging, and you had all these people, women, they didn't care. And it was women that I thought I'd never dreamed that I would be able to be with,
Where were these drugs coming in from suddenly?
Well, Noriega was bringing that shit in. That's with the Contras and the Sandinistas. And they say Reagan used the coke to finance the war. But it was mostly coming, and they say it was coming in from Mexico. And then at one time, they said they found a tunnel leading from Mexico to Texas, and it's a 2-lane highway, right? Tunnel, 2-lane highway. And they were saying the only way it could have been built, the Army Engineer Corps had to build it. And Noriega was a general or something, right? So what the fuck, Nothing gets in here unless they wanted to.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. But they sent it to all of the ghettos. And all of these buildings, and they look good now, but these motherfuckers was fucked up, abandoned. People wasn't paying no rent. People wasn't thinking about doing anything but getting high. That's all. Everybody was chasing that shit. Everybody. You go in the park, all you see is little crack bottles all over the sidewalk. People didn't care where they smoked. They would stop right there in the middle of the street. Flame on, motherfucker. You stand here. If you was at that time standing here looking out the window, you might see about 9 lighters light up on the bridge. And you knew everybody was flaming on. That shit was crazy. And the crazy part about it is when I was just coming home from doing my last bid. That was in '86. And my cousin and I, we was going to get some smoke. And seeing people coming out, it was like Night of the Living Dead. It was like, it had just started turning dark, right? And then people was coming out, and they was looking like zombies and shit, right? So I remember reaching, for the toolie, and my cousin like, chill, neck. He just crackhead. Like, what the fuck is a crackhead? I had no idea what the fuck he was talking about. I had no idea. And then when I started, I said, ain't that so-and-so? Well, ain't that so-and-so? He said, yeah, man, he smoked out. Man, what the fuck? There were dudes that when I left, they were millionaires, selling, and I came back, they were bums. That was the most addictive drug ever created. It did more damage than any drug that I have ever known of in the history of drugs that I've studied. It did damage. I mean, it destroyed from coast to coast. From coast to coast.
Not to mention the families that were destroyed, right? Even if they weren't even doing the drugs.
And then the kids that were born under the influence of it. These kids was messed up. All of their nervous systems were messed up. They had difficulty learning. They all had learning deficiencies. They were really messed up, man. And they had this attitude of non-caring. I think that's where it started because they had no parent. If the parent was using crack, she wasn't buying no food. Every dime went to crack. And then if it was a female parent, she's out there fucking everybody. You understand what I'm saying? And then the kid has to deal with that. He's got to go to school and listen to his classmates tell him, yeah, that's why your mom's da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. So imagine what that did to the psyche of the child. Yeah, it wreaked havoc. It wreaked havoc. And then all of a sudden it started slowing down. I don't see too many people doing it. It's probably still being done, but it's more low key now, but I can't see any young people doing that, especially after seeing what it did to, their grandparents or whatever. I can't see, young kids getting into that. I see most of these young kids getting into the vaping and smoking weed, but not into the crack thing, And some of them are getting into that opiate thing.
Pills,
Yeah. But it's basically because of the pills. I don't know what mollies are and none of that, I mean, I know. I'm green when it comes to some shit. I don't want to be an expert on this shit. I'm a motherfucker be able to come to me and say, where can I get a molly or where can I get this? You know what I'm saying? At one time, I was the guy. You can come to me and I can tell you where to get anything, but I'm glad I don't have that information at hand anymore. Fuck that, man. But yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, that shit really destroyed. It destroyed Harlem. It destroyed the Bronx. And it made it easy for the real estate barons to push people out their apartments, right? Because they weren't paying the rent. Push people out their apartments. And I remember back in the late 70s, my father, he was working for Housing Preservation and Development. He was a real property manager. And they were selling brownstones. The same brownstones, they were selling them shit for $1. $1. It's dumb. I was dumb. Why couldn't I have the brains that I have now then? Because them same $1 buildings now are worth $5 million each. Yes. $1. And all you had to do was promise to stay in the building. You would have got subsidized by the federal government to fix the apartments up. They would have fixed the building up. You had to stay there for 2 years or 5 years, in order to, keep the subsidy. And they would have, renovated the brownstone. Yeah.
So are there still people there who survived gentrification and who are able to...
There's still people there. There's still people there that survived that. Because everybody didn't smoke. There was always those few that didn't, that didn't smoke, and they had to dodge the crackheads. Or if they didn't smoke, there was somebody in their family that did. So you still had to deal with somebody in your family stealing and being out there, So that was another thing, There were no limits. That you talk about raising the bar. I mean, that shit raised the ceiling. There was no ceiling when that shit came out. I mean, it was like every and anything went, And they even had rules of how people were dealt with, with stuff like, back in the days, man, if a guy was out in the streets and he was in the game and he did something that warranted him getting his boots smoked, you catch him outside, you smoke him. You never went into the house with the kids there, and all that shit to discipline somebody. And during that time, it was everything. They'd go in there and kill everybody in the house, the kids and everybody, kidnapping little kids and killing them, man. It got really bad, man. Real, like I said, man, it brought the pure evil out of people, And I remember toward the end of my dealing with that shit, you couldn't fucking tell me that every time I took that hit, I wasn't inhaling Satan personified. 'Cause that's what it felt like, man. It really felt like that I was inhaling. It was like I was literally sucking the devil's dick, And that's no bullshit, man. Because it was like you was under his power the minute you took that hit, man. I mean, the shit that I did for that shit, man, is fucking phenomenal, man. That shit there made me do things that I still regret to this day. But that's how bad it was. It really destroyed this shit here, man. And like I said, the landlords took advantage. They pushed people out, And they had Giuliani's backing because, they started arresting people for standing on the corner, drinking a beer. They run you through the system for that shit instead of, giving you a desk appearance ticket or a summons. They would run you through the system. The thing is that you keep arresting people, keep arresting them, you ruin their chances of employment, So if you can't get a job, how you going to pay your bills? And that's another way of pushing people out. And that's what they did. They started pushing people out and Disney bought 42nd Street. And when they bought 42nd Street, they cleaned that up. The Deuce used to be a fucking cesspool. I mean, it was literally a cesspool down there. You had one side, nothing but mostly porno movies, and the other side, regular movies, And you had drug dealers, any kind of crime or perversion that you could think of, you could access it there. Chickens, horses, whatever you was into, you could assess it there, So, and they, Disney bought up the Deuce, and we're gonna clean this area up, and they started moving all the pimps, the hoes, and the drug dealers. They bought up all the porn theaters and moved them out and started putting, legitimate theaters in there, movie theaters, and then, they started putting the McDonald's and all the little stores there and put the little big screens up there, with the lights and stuff to attract people. And they changed the scope of the Deuce, and the scope of New York. So when people started coming here, they started feeling safe. And that's why people started riding the trains again. And then, they come up in Harlem now. We ain't scared no more, Shit, back in my days, the motherfuckers wouldn't have came up there. They wouldn't have came up there. Shit, I remember yellow cab wouldn't go past 96th Street. When they got to 96th Street, the motherfuckers turned around and head right back downtown. Yeah, First Avenue, as soon as they got to 96th, they'd turn around and go to 2nd Avenue, go their ass right back downtown. And when we did catch a cab down there, we didn't pay. Even if we had the money, we wouldn't pay. We'd take the cab and take the cab to the park on 39th Street. And as soon as the cab pull up in front of the park, we just get out the cab and go sit in the park. What are he going to do? It wasn't like he going to get out the cab and demand payment. He'd have got out that cab, had it been his ass. He knew that. So he didn't get out the cab. It was different. It was really different.
You've seen a lot.
Well, when the time comes for you to get that age, you'll see a lot too. We all have crazy stuff happen to us. So when I'm on the train and the person come by and they be kicking it, they be kicking. You be like, oh, God, I understand, man. Sometimes some people don't have the facilities to do what they need to do, So it makes me count my blessings more. And I think if people counted their blessings more, we would probably get along better with each other. If they took the time to look at the things they need to be thankful for. I mean, you got a friend, you've been blessed. You got a job, you've been blessed. You got something to eat, you got a roof over your head. It's a lot of shit to be thankful for. So why people walk around all fucking mad? I mean, at the end of the day, man, when you really look at shit, do you have anything to be mad about? Do you? I mean, at the end of the day, man, I can't think of anything that I'm mad about. I mean, I'm disappointed that I'm not a millionaire, and you know, I don't have a multitude of money, and I can't just jump up and travel. And I would love to be able to go to different countries and see different shit. I mean, I would love that. That would make my day. You know, so that's, if anything, I'm disappointed that I'm not able to, but to be mad or to say that I hate something, I can't say that I hate anything or anyone. I don't think I've ever truly hated anyone. I don't think I've ever done that. I can't say that I've been pissed at a few people, but to say that I hate a person, that's a hell of a lot of energy to hate.
Well, I feel that from you. I feel like you're just emanating like life is pretty good and let's be here together. And I feel that spirit from you.
Let's enjoy this shit. It's short. We never know when that you know. I mean, I have COPD, right? Another day I was in the train station. I don't know what the fucking diesel or something. Whatever it was, man, that shit took my breath. I mean, I really couldn't breathe, man. And I'm fucking trying to get up the stairs. And this chick, she's walking, taking her fucking time. And I'm ready to grab this. And when I thought about doing it, I bust out laughing. You know what I'm saying? And I wound up making it up the stairs. And when I got outside, I started breathing. And I said, that was fucked up, man. Because, you know, it's obvious that, you know, she had, you know, mobility issues, right? I was ready to pull her ass right down the fucking stairs.
Because you're dying.
And walk. Yeah, I felt like I was dying. But and when I started laughing, I calmed down because I guess I was panicking. And that's what really made it hard for me to breathe. But when I started laughing, and I said to myself, I got a sick sense of humor. You know, because the shit that I find funny sometimes really ain't funny. But to me at that time, that was some funny shit. I can find laughter in the strangest situations. And I laugh and people look at me like I'm crazy, but I don't care because I'm enjoying myself. I'm at peace. I'm at peace with myself. I'm not afraid to be me. I enjoy who I am. I think people are more fixated on trying to be what others think they should be, or what society thinks that they should be, or what society thinks they should do. People are more interested in conforming instead of blazing their own trails. There's some shit you gotta conform to. I mean, I know that, you know, but fuck that. What's to say that in conforming to the standards and the norms, I can't add my own flair to that. Right? I mean, I can obey the law, but I can obey it in my terms. Why do I have to be a robot?
Yeah.
You
and
know?
who sets what's normal anyway?
Exactly. Oscar Wilde, he said that people are like automatons. And I see that shit every day, you know. I'm going down, this is no exaggeration, I'm at 34th Street the other day, and they're going down the stairway. The other stairway is completely empty. It's completely empty. Nobody's coming up and nobody's coming down. There's nothing to block it. And people are standing on line to conform with the rest of the crowd going down this one. And I just slid out the crowd and just went down the stairs. And then when I got down the stairs, I turned around and no one followed me. I said, oh shit, these motherfuckers is morons. I mean, seriously.
Well, I think, and I can say this because I lived this for many years, but I think a lot of people in a city like this are so worn out from the hustle that they have to do to like survive and be in capitalism and like pay their bills and do their thing that a lot of people are just like on autopilot, you know?
Automatons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck that autopilot shit. You better you better grab the manual
life
control.
is passing you by.
Yeah. And if they not doing that, they in their phone. And that's the shit. I just don't understand it. I mean, it's a real phenomena that.
Well, and like you were saying earlier, how people need touch, like I think the more distanced you get from people and the more you get absorbed into phone world, you know, it does something to you. It fucks up your nervous system. I think people are sick from not having that communion with each other. Yeah.
Exactly. It has to make you sick.
I think so.
If you take a person and you place them in solitary confinement, that person is going to go crazy. We have to, as human beings, we have to touch, we have to feel, we have to be with another human being. That's the way God created it. You understand what I'm saying? He created man, and the greatest gift he gave us was y'all. Even though y'all fucking crazy as hell and drive us crazy, it's the greatest gift he gave us next to life. And we are meant to be together. It's just the way it is. And if you're not together, it's like you're not whole. Then actually, that was another thing that made me stop being a hoe too. You know, I started reading my Bible, and it says when you with a person, and you with a person sexually, you and that person become one, right? So, I am a loving individual. I'm a loving man. So if I'm relate with somebody, I gotta relate with somebody that's a loving individual also, that has the capacity to love. And I started, you know, evaluating the people I had been, and I was like, no wonder my fucking luck was so bad. I was, you know, basically cursing myself by my associations. I was blocking my own blessings.
I think that extends beyond just sex too. I think the people we're surrounded with energetically, that's
it does same. Because it that karma, that energy, it's important. You have to have a certain aura. Now, if you look at a person and you see that glow, you know what I'm saying, and you know that they got a pure aura, you know, and then you can see the negative aura in people too. Yeah. Look at some people, I'm like, oh shit, man. They walk past, I'm like, you know, yeah, let that shit.
Do the Matrix move.
Yeah, I don't want that shit to even rub off on me, you know, because sometimes it can stick to you. I like my aura, the people that's in my circumference and my aura to be right. I go by this now. Before I used to just, you know, go by sight. You know, if you look the part, you know, or what I thought in my mind, society said that I'm supposed to have, right? Then, okay, you must be all right. But the reality of it is like, fuck society. How can society pick what's right for me? I have to do that. And God has to do that. Everybody wants to, like they should keep up with the Joneses and be that person. I'm content living in obscurity. I think you can get more done that way because there's no pretense. Keep it 100. Gotta keep it 100. Did you eat? You want to order some Chinese or something? Are you hungry?
Sure. Is that what you usually do?
Yeah, I usually eat that.
Thanks, Darryl.
Darkest of night with the moon shining bright. There's a set going strong, a lot of things going on. The man of the hour has an air of great power. The dudes have envied him for so long. Oh, Superfly, you're gonna make your fortune by and by. But if you lose, don't ask no questions why. The only game you know is do or die. Hard to understand, but a hell of a man. This cat of the slum had a mind, wasn't dumb. But a weakness was shown, cause his hustle was wrong. His His mind was his own, but the man lived alone. Ooh, super fly. You're gonna make your fortune by and by. But if you lose, don't ask no questions why. The only game you know is do or die. The game he plays for keys. Hustling times in ghetto streets, trying to get over. That's what he trying to do, y'all. Taking all that he can take, gambling with the odds of fate, trying to get over, trying to get over, trying to get over, trying to get over. Ooh, super fly. The aim of his role was to move a lot of blow. Ask him his dream, what does it mean? He wouldn't know. Can't be like the rest, is the most he'll confess. But the time's running out and there's no happiness. Ooh, super fly. You're gonna make your fortune by and by. But if you lose, don't ask no questions why.
Is Darryl not the best? I really love that guy. He's really special, and he has so much to offer anyone who might be struggling. On that note, if anyone in New York happens to be working with people in something like a treatment setting and you want to get in touch with Darryl, please shoot me a note and I'll pass it along to him. He would be such an asset. If you want to listen to more podcasts, you can find me online where podcasts are found and also on my website, marajames.com. Shoot me a note. I'd love to hear what you're reading and listening to these days. And maybe we can hang out while I'm nomading around the world. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your ears. Go out and spread the love in honor of Darryl this week. The world needs it.